The world is changing, and cities are at the forefront of that change. Across the globe, urban centres are facing two critical challenges: climate change and sustainable development. In Southeast Asia, countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines are stepping up. With democratic traditions and citizen participation, these nations are uniquely positioned to guide their urban transformations. As we strive to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, cities are the battleground for solutions. Housing, transportation, water management, all must come together to create a sustainable future. So, what's ahead? Let's explore 4 key themes that will shape tomorrow's cities. We'll begin in Bandung, Indonesia, where a neighborhood comes together to create a new vertical community. Next, we'll look at greener transport options in Manila and sustainable planning in Kuala Lumpur. We'll see how communities adapt, from nature-based solutions in northern Thailand to sustainable water management in Makassar and disaster prevention initiatives in Southeast Asia, where NGOs prepare children for climate challenges. Finally, Jakarta's Kampong settlement highlights neighborhood resilience, while in Surabaya, smart cities and digitalization are paving the way for climate adaptation. These stories reveal that cities are the heartbeat of innovation and community action. The future of our urban spaces depends on leadership, engagement, and a shared vision for sustainability. Join us as we explore the transformative futures of cities. The world is watching, and the time for action is now. The streets of Bandung, Indonesia, tell a story of rapid urbanization, of movement, and of change. Millions have come to the city, drawn by the promise of jobs, better healthcare, and education. Urban life offers a future that rural Indonesia can no longer sustain. But for 51 million people, these promises are overshadowed by bad housing conditions. The informal settlements that are crowded, fragile, and overlooked. Here, the line between progress and poverty is sharp. 19% of the urban population lives in these settlements, where the promise of better housing remains out of reach. Sector-specific programs tried to improve infrastructure, but affordable housing remained hard to find. And land consolidation tools led to gentrification, ultimately displacing the poor from the city's core. But there's another way forward. Vertical land consolidation, with a people-public-private partnership. It's called You Develop, where the community becomes the shareholder. Here, land is more than property, it's power. Low-income landowners invest in their neighborhood's future. Partnering with the private sector, they create companies that will rebuild and sustain. In this future, there is no eviction, only renewal. No displacement, but revitalization. It's a reimagining, where today's settlements are transformed into thriving vertical communities. For the people of Bandung, it means their city is being rebuilt and reclaimed. Cities are alive, living, breathing organisms, with streets like veins, carrying the people everywhere. Every hour, every minute, people flow through them. A cacophony of footsteps, engines, and spinning wheels. faces pressed against windows, catching glimpses of the skyline as the sun sets. Tracks, roads, and stations, lines etched into the skin of this concrete animal, pulling people closer and sending them on their way to their jobs, families, sports activities, and homes. This is Metro Manila, the capital region of the Philippines. A place where its dwellers are always on the move. And with movement comes complexity. As the need for mobility grows, the challenges of transportation are becoming harder to ignore. High emissions, aging infrastructure, and risks for women. Manila aims to reduce its reliance on private vehicles and shift towards a low-carbon transport system, and to make this shift inclusive. For women in Manila, the realities of commuting are often far from ideal. They face unique challenges in navigating the city's public transport. Overcrowded buses and jeepneys create spaces where physical harassment is a constant threat. The traditional jeepneys have high stepboards that make boarding and alighting difficult, especially for women with children, those with luggage, and the elderly. Reliable mass transit, electric mobility, and safer infrastructure are not just about reducing emissions. They're about creating an environment where everyone, including women, children, and those with limited mobility, can travel safely and with dignity. Malaysia's cities are growing. Rising towers, new roads, expanding neighborhoods. But with growth comes a challenge. How to build cities that thrive without depleting the future. Since the mid-1990s, Malaysia has committed to sustainable development, aiming to balance progress with protection of people, of nature. But turning this vision into action is not easy. City planners understand that achieving sustainability requires more than just policies. It requires a shift in priorities. Economic growth still takes center stage, and environmental concerns often fall by the wayside. Limited financial resources and a lack of coordination between agencies only compound the problem. But we see sparks of progress. Planners are working with communities to build greener, more inclusive neighborhoods, and some cities are making strides in areas like public transport and mixed-use development. Now, the goal is to boost the momentum and to transform this vision into a new reality. The journey towards sustainable cities is complex, but the future of Malaysia's urban landscapes depends on it. To get there, planners need more than vision. They need leadership, resources, and most of all, a commitment to putting the long-term future above short-term gains. From green roofs to community gardens, from constructed wetlands to innovative parks, nature-based solution design has increasingly been embraced as a way of improving urban resilience and enhancing community well-being. In the face of a changing climate. While Singapore is renowned as the city in a garden, Thailand has also been implementing NBS, with notable projects like the Thammasat Centenary Hall Green Roof, Benjakiti Nature Forest, and PTT Metro Forest. In northern Thailand, the Klong Mare Kar cuts through the center of Chiang Mai. Once a vital waterway contributing to flood control and water management, it has since suffered from severe pollution due to unchecked urban development. Now, Chiang Mai is seeking to restore its traditional connection with the Klong through a nature-based solution approach, which offers the potential to heal the canal and foster a healthier, more sustainable community. Landscape architecture students from Thammasat University and engineering students from the Asian Institute of Technology collaborated to design a constructed wetland and park system as part of this initiative. They visioned a natural sanctuary woven into the city's urban fabric. In this design, the wetland would purify the water, filtering stormwater runoff and wastewater from the bustling Wang Mai market before it reaches the canal. Beyond environmental restoration, the design would create spaces for community interaction, recreation, and entrepreneurial activity, while also boosting urban biodiversity and reducing heat as part of the broader Threads of the Mare Car concept. Water is the source of life. It irrigates the land, growing food for communities. It fuels industries, shaping the world around us. And it moves goods, transports people, and even offers recreation. However, water is not always as readily available as we might think. In cities like Makassar, Indonesia, it has become a scarce and contested resource. Climate change is worsening water shortages, while population growth intensifies the strain on the city's water supply. Water scarcity and imbalances threaten the city's ability to meet basic needs, especially when it comes to providing universal access to drinking water. In urban areas, clean water is often limited, particularly in underserved neighborhoods. Meanwhile, just outside the city, agriculture and industry draw heavily from the same water sources. The imbalance is stark. So how can these competing demands be adjusted? Makassar is turning to integrated urban water management. This approach seeks to link urban water cycles and create more efficient, equitable, and sustainable water use. By bringing together government agencies, industry, agriculture, and local communities, the city is striving to build a system that not only distributes water fairly, but also conserves it for future generations. But the path ahead is long. True integration will require better coordination across sectors, a deeper commitment to conservation, and continued investment in sustainable water practices. Only then can Makassar hope to achieve water equality for all its citizens. Earthquakes destroying the land. Typhoons tearing through villages. Floodwaters rising in the dead of night. These forces of nature are ever on the horizon for the millions of people living in Southeast Asia. In a world where disasters like these loom large, how do we protect those most vulnerable? The children. Across the region, international and local NGOs, alongside schools, are trying to answer this question. Through tailored disaster preparedness programs, they are teaching children the skills they need to face the dangers of their environment head-on. In classrooms, lessons on safety, emergency planning, and disaster awareness become part of everyday learning. Drills and simulations prepare children for the moment when theory turns into reality and the ground beneath them shakes. Even though this is a great start, many programs are underfunded, and those in remote, disaster-prone areas are the hardest to reach. At the same time, cultural and linguistic barriers leave some children and their families disconnected. Think of a village where the warning comes in a language not fully understood, and crucial information gets lost in translation. Finally, there's inequality in national education systems, leaving some schools prepared but others left behind. Yet despite these obstacles, the efforts have made a difference. Children are now more capable of responding when disaster strikes. Their knowledge saves lives, their own and their families. Continued investment is therefore essential to address the root causes of vulnerability. By uniting NGOs, government agencies, and communities, Southeast Asia can equip every child to face whatever nature throws their way. Along the riverbanks of Yogyakarta, we find many informal settlements. These are known as kampongs, or kampong kota in Bahasa. The people living here form tight-knit communities, constantly facing relentless challenges. Climate-related disasters, socio-economic risks, and the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic have overwhelmed these neighborhoods, placing immense strain on the quality of life for those who live there. The complex physical environment, with its narrow streets and lack of disaster mitigation infrastructures and measures, often slows progress. Government funding is scarce, and without proper maintenance, many solutions fall apart over time. Yet if there's one thing these communities excel at, it's their resilience and their deep-rooted connection to one another. In Indonesia, there's a word for their efforts, gotong royong. It stands for mutual cooperation, the lifeblood that strengthens community bonds, and it defines the spirit of the kampong. Together, they organize, adapt, and find new ways to navigate the stresses that shape their daily lives. Social norms like tolerance and collective problem-solving serve as powerful enablers of resilience. Through participatory assessments and community-led discussions, residents are beginning to identify their own strengths and weaknesses. They are prioritizing what matters most, creating plans, engaging local leaders, and seeking the support needed to build a more resilient future. In the kampongs of Yogyakarta, we see the power of community in action. It's a testament to how people can and will thrive against the odds. Urban regions are constantly evolving, growing larger, more interconnected, and more complex. And as cities expand, so does the complexity of the relationship between communities and their governments. In the face of climate change, where the stakes are high, it's often the communities themselves that know their environment best. They have a deep understanding of the localities they inhabit. That's why a clear, open channel between these communities and their governments is critical for effective climate adaptation. Digital technologies have the potential to make this process more transparent, inclusive, and responsive. In Surabaya, Indonesia, one of these innovations is e-Musrenbang, a digital tool that gives citizens a voice in local planning and decision-making. Through e-Musrenbang, citizens can make proposals about development in their localities, and these proposals are logged digitally. It's a tool that allows their voices to travel across the digital space, ensuring that communities are heard and governments can respond more quickly and with more precision. There is the potential for communities to directly raise concerns about rising sea levels, flooding, and other climate risks. However, such concerns do not feature prominently within proposals submitted by citizens, despite the hazards encountered in their coastal districts. This case highlights that we should not rely on digital technologies alone to enhance community participation in climate adaptation initiatives. At the very least, they must be complemented by broader forms of community engagement, ones that stimulate and capture the perspectives of citizens on the risks that they face.